Hey guys, welcome back to my channel PhysioLearn TV. And again, I am Destine Marie Villarmino, a BS Physical Therapy student. So let us learn about the cell and its parts. So what is the cell? Humans are made up of trillions of cells. That's a lot. And it is the basic unit of life on Earth. Every living organism is made up of cells, whether they are animals or plants. And cells can be thought of as tiny packages that contain minute factories, warehouses, transport systems, and power plants. They can also function on their own, creating their own energy, and they are also self-replicating. And the cell is the smallest unit of life that can replicate on its own. Cells build tissues, which form organs. And as organisms like us survive, we need those organs to work. Therefore, the cell is very important to our body. Robert Hooke first discovered cells in 1665. He gave their name because they resembled the Latin word cella, meaning small rooms in which those monks used to live in. Now let's proceed to the first part. As you can see in the illustration, it will be the nucleus. So in the illustration, if you can read it over there, the nucleus is the lighter orange part in the middle of the cell. So the nucleus is the cell's headquarters or its command center. So there is normally one nucleus per cell, but this is not always the case. In some skeletal muscle cells, for instance, they have two. The nucleus contains the majority of the cell's DNA. The nucleus sends out messages to tell the cells to grow, divide, or die. And also, it is the largest organelle inside the cell, taking about 1/10 of the entire cell volume. And then next up is the nucleolus, the one in the middle. Alright, and for this one, the nucleolus is considered as the brain of the nucleus, covering nearly 20% of its volume. Primarily, it takes part in the production of subunits that unites to form ribosomes. The nucleolus plays an important role in the synthesis of the proteins and also in the production of ribosomes in the eukaryotic cells. However, there is also growing evidence that the nucleolus is also implicated in many more aspects of the cell biology, such as regulation of the cell cycle, growth and development, and also the telomerase activity, even in the gene silencing, and also response to biotic and abiotic stresses. So if you're wondering, the nucleolus and nucleus are both different things. The nucleolus is smaller, it does not contain any chromosomes, and it is rich in RNA, while the nucleus is bigger and has chromosomes and is also rich in DNA. Alright, here on the next slide, we have the vesicle. It is a structure within or outside the cell that consists of a liquid or cytoplasm enclosed by a lipid bilayer. Vesicles form naturally during the processes of secretion, uptake, and transport of materials within the plasma membrane. Because it is separated from the cytosol, the inside of the vesicle can be made to be different from the cytosolic environment. For this reason, vesicles are a basic tool used by the cell for organizing the cellular substances. Vesicles are also involved in metabolism, transport, buoyancy control, and temporary storage of food and enzymes, and they can also act as chemical reaction chambers. And then we have the plasma membrane. As you can see, it is not in the illustration, but it ensures the neighboring cells to separate each other. It is enveloped in a special membrane known as the plasma membrane. This membrane is predominantly made of phospholipids, which prevent water-based substances from entering the cell. So it's basically like its gate. So the plasma membrane contains a range of receptors which carry out a number of tasks. There are 4. The gatekeepers. Some receptors allow certain molecules through and stop the others. While the markers, these receptors act as same badges, informing the immune system that they are part of the organism and not a foreign invader or either a bacteria or a virus. Next is the communicators. Some receptors help the cell communicate with other cells and the environment. And lastly, the fasteners. They are the receptors that help bind cell to its neighbors. And for our next slide, we will have the cytoplasm. As you can see there, the cytoplasm has a really big area. It is the interior of the cell that surrounds the nucleus and is 80% water. It also includes the organelles and a jelly-like fluid called the cytosol. So all those other organelles are within the cytoplasm. Many of the important reactions that take place in the cell occurs or happens within the cytoplasm, such as a lot of metabolic pathways, including glycolysis, and processes such as the cell division. And then here we have the cytoskeleton. It can be considered as the scaffolding of the cell. It helps maintain its correct shape. However, unlike these other regular scaffoldings used in houses or buildings, the cytoskeleton is flexible. It plays a role in cell division and cell motility. The ability of some cells to move, such as sperm cells, for instance. The cytoskeleton also helps in cell signaling through its involvement in the uptake of material from the outside of the cell, and is involved in moving materials around within the cells. And the most famous of them all, the mitochondria, which is the powerhouse of the cell. Mitochondria are organelles that act like the digestive system, which takes in the nutrients, breaks them down, and creates energy-rich molecules for the cell that the cell can use, which is the adenosine triphosphate or the ATP. The biochemical processes of the cell are known as cellular respiration. However, the mitochondria has a number of other jobs, including calcium storage and the role in cell death or apoptosis. Mitochondrial dysfunction is widely implicated in aging and in the disease of aging through dysfunction in adenosine triphosphate synthesis. Before we proceed, if you think I'm going a little too fast or a little too slow, in your screen in the upper right corner, there is a settings there that you can adjust the speed. You can either make it faster or slower. And now we have the endoplasmic reticulum. It processes the molecules within the cell and helps transport them to their final decision. So they're like the transcriptors of the cell. In particular, it synthesizes, folds, modifies, and transports proteins. The ER, or the endoplasmic reticulum, is made up of elongated sacs held together by the cytoskeleton. There are two types though. There is a rough ER and a smooth ER. The rough endoplasmic reticulum has on its ribosomes, which are small, round organelles whose function is to make those proteins. And sometimes when those proteins are made improperly, the proteins stay within the endoplasmic reticulum. They're retained and the endoplasmic reticulum becomes engorged because it seems constipated in a way, and the proteins don't get out while they're supposed to go. Then there's also the smooth endoplasmic reticulum, which doesn't have ribosomes in it. and that smoother endoplasmic reticulum produces other substances needed by the cell. So the endoplasmic reticulum, or the ER, is an organelle that's really a workhouse in producing proteins and substances needed by the rest of the cell. And here we have the Golgi apparatus, which is the post office of the cell. Once molecules have been processed by the ER or our endoplasmic reticulum, they travel to the Golgi apparatus. The Golgi apparatus is sometimes considered, as I said, the post office, where items are packaged and labeled. So once these materials leave, they may be used within the cell or taken outside of the cell for use somewhere else. Now for the lysosomes and the peroxisomes. Both of these are essentially bags of enzymes. Lysosomes contain enzymes that break down the large molecules, including old parts of the cells and foreign materials, while the peroxisomes contain enzymes that destroy the toxic materials, including peroxide. Next, we have the ribosome. So in the nucleus, the DNA is transcribed into an RNA, a molecule similar to the DNA which carries the same message. Ribosomes read the RNA and translate it into protein by sticking together amino acids in the order defined by the RNA. And for our last slide, the centrosomes are organelles which serve as the main microtubule organizing center, or the MTOC, for cells. Centrosomes are made up of arrangements of two barrel-shaped clusters of microtubules called centrioles, and a complex of proteins that help additional microtubules to form. These proteins allow the centrosomes to start and stop the formation of microtubule proteins. This allows them to control the formation of mitotic spindle fibers and other structures that play important roles in cellular development. Centrosomes assist with several important functions, including organizing changes to the shape of the cell membrane that allow the membrane to pinch into two during the cell division, and also ensuring that chromosomes are properly distributed to its daughter cells by creating and shortening mitotic spindle fibers. And lastly, it also oversees other important changes to cell membrane shape, such as those seen in the phagocytosis. So guys, thank you for staying till the end of the video. Thank you for everyone who watched, and I hope you were all clarified by the functions of the parts of the cells. So please like and subscribe my channel. And also hit the bell button to get notified every time I post a new lesson video. So as much as possible, I will post new video lessons every day, but there are gonna be instances where I think I will be busy, but I will inform you guys. So I have my Facebook account there in case you have any suggestions or topics or any more clarifications. Feel free to message me or just comment down below. So thank you guys, and see you on my next video.